Hi, I'm Pam Stranahan, and I'm a docent at the Fulton Schoolhouse Museum. We'd like to give you a glimpse of the past, the way education used to be. But before we go into the schoolhouse, let me tell you about this building. This building once housed the town council for Fulton, so we also have a historic marker here. The town of Fulton was founded as early as 1867 by George Fulton, who came to the area to secure his wife's inheritance. The Fultons became important builders in the community. George established a cattle company and was involved in many other ventures for growth. The town of Fulton grew as the businesses served the local folks. The town was incorporated in 1978, and L.E. Casterline was its first mayor. The school was an important facet of this community. In 1886, George and Harriet deeded land on 2nd Street for a public free school. A one-room school served as the elementary, and its first teacher was Miss Johnson. In 1893, the building was part of the county school system and was moved to 3rd Street. In 1944, it was severely damaged by a hurricane and later rebuilt. In the 1950s, a new elementary school was built on Mesquite, and this old school building was moved to its present location here on 7th Street in Fulton. The Fulton Lions Club and the Fulton Fire Department shared and maintained the building. But in 1978, the Fulton Lions Club dissolved, and the building was given to the town of Fulton, who used the schoolhouse as the town hall. When the town constructed a new building in the early 2000s, the town council invited the local Daughters of the Republic of Texas chapter to set up a museum in this old school. That's what we'll see next. Hello. Hello, I'm Kim Wagert. Won't you come in to the Fulton Schoolhouse Museum? This side we have decorated just like the schoolhouse that was here. These are vintage desks. Now, none of them actually came from the original Fulton Schoolhouse, but they're exactly like the desks that were used there. Back then, students would use a slate for their work and write on the slate with chalk. They also used inkwells with the ink in it and turkey feathers as the quills. Meaning was the time that a mischievous boy sitting here would dunk the pigtails of the girl in front of him into the inkwell. So that was something that was happening. Back here, we have a desk that would be for the older students. This school was for grades 1st through 6th. The older students, 3 or 4 of them, could sit at that big desk back there. Now, the books that were used, these are replicas, were the McGuffey readers. So we have replicas of those here, and we do actually have a few original books. This one here was used by a student that actually went to school here, a Mrs. Wendell. And then, of course, there was no air conditioning or central heat. So they would use a pot-bellied stove to heat this room. Up here, we have a chalkboard, and they would write with chalk. It's very interesting. When we are open, people come in and go, what in the world is that? Because schools now use dry erase boards. And then they want to know what these are. These are switches. And when a student would misbehave, the teacher would have to switch them. And you know, we don't have corporal punishment anymore in schools. And here we have a young student who has misbehaved and did not do her arithmetic problems. So, Pam, I'm going to have to put the dunce cap on you. She'll learn her arithmetic problems soon. Now here we have the teacher's desk, and this is vintage. And one thing I wanted to show you, this ruler is a 15-inch ruler instead of 12-inch. Over here, we have desks that are a little bit different than these, and that is just an arm chair for doing your work. And then we have these little bitty chairs here for the younger students in first grade. This part of the building is what we call the Fulton Museum. It is filled with memorabilia, photographs and such, that residents of Fulton have donated from their family. Now I want you to look at this replica of the Fulton Mansion. It was built about 15 years ago by a winter Texan in his RV. It took him, here's a picture of the gentleman, it took him 2 years to build this exact replica of the Fulton Mansion. And it is exact in every detail. So you can come and you can look into the conservatory and see the flowers and plants that are in the conservatory. Now all these cases over here are the ones that are filled with the memorabilia that Fulton residents have donated through the years. Look up here. See these blue bottles? These are what we call fire grenades. And what would happen if a fire were to break out in the schoolhouse? One would throw the fire grenade onto the fire, and because they were filled with chemicals, the fire would be extinguished, and of course the glass would break. Now, in these cases, we have the entire history of the Fulton family. Coming this way, look at this cast net. This cast net was handmade, hand knotted by a Mr. Weber here in Fulton in the 1940s. Look at this map of Fulton. This is a very old map of Fulton, probably taken from the 1940s. And you can see how totally different things looked back then at the Fulton Harbor. Here's another aerial view up here of Fulton. And again, these cases are all filled with memorabilia and photographs. We have things that are not necessarily associated with the school. Can you guess what this is? This is a toaster. It's from the very early 1900s. Here we have a traveling desk that people would use to write on when they were in their wagon or perhaps on a ship. Here we have a map of the town of Fulton in the very, very early days as it was laid out by George Fulton. Now this shrimp boat was made and donated, and it is named Mr. L.E. L.E. Casterline was the first mayor of Fulton. This shrimp boat, you know, shrimping is a huge industry for this area. So up here we have a crocheted Fulton piece. This door, you may be surprised to see a door in here, but basically what happened during Harvey, there was a house in Fulton called the Simpson House. It was the oldest house in Aransas County. It was brought over by barge from St. Mary's across Copano Bay in the late 1800s, and it was here in Fulton, and then Harvey hit. Completely destroyed the house. But luckily for us, one of the members of our chapter ran over and was able to get this door, save the door. So I want to show you, here is an actual photograph of the house when it was first moved to Fulton.
Our local DRT chapter is a custodian for the Schoolhouse Museum. The Daughters of the Republic of Texas is a genealogical society that was founded in 1891, and special attention was paid to the veterans of the Republic who were still alive at the time. Their last meeting, however, was in 1907, but we had a local member attend. Stephen F. Sparks was a veteran of the Republic of Texas Army, and he actually attended that meeting. DRT has long been associated with the Alamo. In 1903, a New York syndicate proposed to buy the land and destroy the buildings. But Miss Adenda de Zavala rushed to the buildings and secured them. She prevented the sheriff from entering. Finally, an agreement was reached so that the Daughters of the Republic could purchase the Alamo. So a fundraising effort was underway, but they came up short. Miss Clara Driscoll, who, by the way, grew up in Rockport, donated the money to secure the building. Miss Clara Driscoll paid off the note, but then in 1905, the Texas legislature reimbursed her, and the Alamo became state property, with the DRT being custodians for many years. Now, the mission of DRT is to educate, research, and protect the history of the Republic of Texas for all future generations. Members celebrate Texas Honor Days to remember the history of the Republic. Probably the best known days are March 2nd, which is Texas Independence Day, and April 21st, San Jacinto Day. Each member of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas can trace their ancestor back to the time of the Republic. We wear a ribbon for meetings and special events that commemorate our ancestor. My ancestor was William Hall, who came to Texas, Northeast Texas, in 1844. Last year, we inducted 3 new members into our chapter, and we also welcome associate members. Our flag for our chapter tells our story. We are the C of Texas chapter, the Stinson-Simpson chapter. We also have a special library here with over 300 books that people can come in and read on the premises. So we hope you'll come visit us at the Fulton Schoolhouse when it's safe to do so again. We're usually open on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, 1 to 3.